We could never think about Olympia without Hall of Famer Sean Ray here at Olympia. And, you know, after doing this sport so many years as a competitor, you know, as an analyst, you know, show promoter, there's never been a year like this one. Yeah. And here we are at Olympia. High five on that to start, right?
It's a very challenging year for a lot of people. To hear the stories at the press conference was very compelling because these athletes, they found a way to do it. I mean, the gyms were shut down. A lot of athletes' family members were getting ill. And some people like Hadi Chupin were fighting to get in the country up until the last minute. And Rolly Winkler didn't get in the country at the last minute. So then you have all these comeback stories with Oksana Grishina and Phil Keith. I mean, it really has set the stage, including Dexter Jackson's retirement party after this is his 21st Mr. Olympia. And to put that in context, his first Olympia was in 1999, which was when Ronnie Coleman won his second Olympia title, second of 8, made history winning 8. And Ronnie Coleman's been retired 10 years, you know, so we watched the coming of Phil Heath, we watched Sean Roden and Brandon Curry, and now Dexter Jackson's still there battling with these guys. So that's going to be an interesting story. And Kamal El Garni, the 212 champion, at 49 years old, is here defending his title. So what I've learned over the weekend is the athletes are able to do it at a high level for a lot longer than when I was in there. I spent my 20s and my first part of my 30s up there, and I've been retired 19 years. So to come back here to witness my 33rd consecutive Olympia and hear the stories, and I'm actually more in tune with my maturity level. I've reverted back to a fan, and to be able to appreciate what you have to do to get here under these circumstances. I'm looking for a spectacular 56 Joe Weider Olympia weekend. I mean, this is one that I think we're very fortunate to have the pay-per-view component.
Absolutely.
Because without the pay-per-view component, I don't think a lot of fans out there would really be able to see the history about to be made this weekend on the level that the stage has been set for.
Well, and you know, I feel like too, every single person in the bodybuilding industry, from the competitor to promoter, people who put out products, every single person, we saw them all step up their game actually this year. And so I feel like a pay-per-view option is owed to every single person because they're here sticking it out too. Like, they're still fans, you know, and like you said, all these stories going on, you're like, wow, everybody can overcome. And I feel like we're seeing the best looks of many of the competitors they've ever had coming this time.
Yeah, and I think it challenged some of the athletes because this is an opportunistic time for some of the guys to break out of the pack. Right. I mean, training pretty much covered up and hidden and not being able to like really feed off of each other. You had to look inward. Most of the athletes said they got very cerebral this time to really appreciate the process. And also the gratitude that the prize money didn't get decreased, knowing that we don't have the same amount of fans, knowing that the same amount of sponsors are not going to be here. Yet we have a promoter in Jake Wood that's the biggest prize money ever, adding the pay-per-view component, moved the location from Las Vegas to Orlando on literally a 4-week notice. Right. This is a guy that's very passionate. This is a guy that we should all be thankful that he's at the front of the pack for the Olympians. I mean, and that's impacting a lot of people, a lot of people's livelihoods in our sport, ride and die with the biggest contest in the world, which is this Olympia. So I'm very appreciative on a lot of levels. I mean,
well, I feel like Jake isn't in the spotlight a ton. You're not like always seeing him. He's not always there, and so it's almost like you can't appreciate until I heard him when he was interviewing you, and he was talking about the prize money for Olympia, and he said, I had so many people that thought I was dumb to keep the prize, like take the prize money the same, and he said, you know, but the athletes didn't. Right. They're still coming, and even if I lose money, which he will, you know, I'm going to do what I said I was going to do. And that is a bodybuilder. That is like that's what our mentality is.
Yeah, and I think that's where, you know, sometimes you start a business and you lose money for a year or two, maybe 3 or 4. But, you know, it catches on. Bodybuilding's been around for a very long time. We are not going the other direction. As a matter of fact, it's more popular than ever.
Most ever Olympians ever.
Absolutely. And with that being said, the only way we can show our support is by buying the pay-per-view. Because that money supports the athletes that are entertaining you guys, inspiring you guys, and all of these storylines. This is the one year that we got to go a little bit deeper and pay attention to a little bit more of what these athletes put on the line for us year in and year out. And right now, this is a great opportunity to see history on literally every level, from the physique to the women's bodybuilding returning to the defense of Brandon Curry's title, to Phil Heath's comeback and Dexter Jackson's retirement and Oksana Grashina coming back. I mean, I can go on and on. Angelica Teixeira. I mean, this is the deepest competition and the most anticipated one in many, many years.
You know, Sean, I gotta say, now I can fan guy out a little bit. I never thought I'd be interviewing Sean Ray. That is just so cool for me, man.
Yeah, man.
I just can't believe that.
Live long enough, again. No, listen. I mean, I was a fan like you were. When I came up in the sport, my first Olympia I saw was a televised Olympia in an auditorium. My mentor, John Brown, was competing over in Sweden, and they had a little stream. It was actually a pay-per-view back then in '85, and I got to witness what my future was going to look like. And it was a really surreal feeling, and watching what you do with these athletes and putting the spotlight on them and sharing their stories. I got to take my hat off to you too.
Appreciate it, man. I appreciate it, man. I had some good coaching there for a while.
Right on.